Hello everybody, it's Thorfinn here. So this isn't like my usual video, but I figured I'd try to, on Wednesdays, I want my content to be more like esports focused, so Valorant esports focused. And then on Fridays is when I'll drop like tutorials of like how to play a certain agent on a certain map, or like how to make your mechanics better, stuff like that. So I want to talk about the mid-season cup for challengers this split. So first, I kind of want to talk about this match, right? It's the first match of the day, along with, I think it's Core Glazers. So this one I feel like is kind of weird because I'd say that Fluffy Aimers, aka Together We Are Terrific, they got slightly better by adding in Jonah 6 and Bones. But I think that I definitely have some bias for Winthrop. But the big thing is that they don't have their fifth, which is kind of rough, to say the least. But I still think Winthrop is going to win. And I think the reason why is Winthrop had this like insane problem on split one, where essentially they would either play the rounds like astronomically bad, like giga collegiate, like really looking like me fucking for real out there. I'm talking, they looked like shit. Or they had rounds where it was like, wow, like that was fucking perfect. Like they did exactly what they needed to. They made sure that like they traded well. They executed their game plan like flawlessly. So I feel like Screwface, whether you want to or not, like he was a big reason why EG went on that run, right? And he has a whole year underneath Boostio, Ethan, Potter, Zix, like learning from all those people. So I really think that he can fine tune those rounds and really make Winthrop play those like, oh wow, they're playing this perfectly rounds a lot more. Not only that, I think Jerk is like a really good player, and I'm pretty sure he was their IGL. So getting him off of IGL and having him focus solely on just fragging and mid-rounding, I think could be extremely good for this Winthrop roster. So personally, I'm going to have to take Winthrop. Next, we're going to have to go to Core versus the Glazers. Okay. This one's pretty simple. Core is like one of the best teams, according to last split. And I genuinely just don't think the Glazers are going to be able to. I genuinely think it's a Core 2-0 here. I think Winthrop versus Fluffy Aimers, that could be like a 2-1, right? In a really close series. I think it's going to be really scrappy. But this series, it's just Core 2-0. I personally really don't like the way the Glazers play. I think that they're very underwhelming. I think that their firepower is like really hit or miss. It's either they're really shooting or they're really not. And even when they are really shooting, I just think Core out firepowers them. So it's going to be a pretty decisive win. Next, we're going to go to this TSM YFP game. And YFP got significantly better, right? They added in Jakey, they added in Will. And I think that they added two really good players to their roster. But I think that TSM having more time to gel, I think TSM is really good. I really like these players on TSM. I really like the players on YFP as well. But personally, I think that TSM just has better overall calling and mid-rounding. And I think that that's really going to be the decider for this series. So I'm going to take TSM in probably a 2-0 series. Sad versus Blinn, I think, could be really interesting. I really like Blinn Esports. I think that they work the hardest out of most of these teams. Like they deserve to be in challengers for sure. Like they work so hard. But the one thing that I really have with them is they play some really interesting compositions, right? They play the KO on Bind. They play Harbor Viper on Icebox, right? They play these pretty these very like they play these compositions where you have to play it well, right? Like personally, I think this double controller kind of setup isn't that great on Icebox, because if you don't play it to its maximum potential, I think it really gets outshined most of the time. So my big thing here is that I feel like Blinn has that. If they have an off day, I think Sad Esports really puts them in the blender. And I think that that's really bad. So I think in challengers, you should prioritize compositions that are to your team's playstyle and that aren't extremely hard to play. Well, extremely hard to get the max out of it, right? Mainly play comps that are like not easy to fuck up. Like you have to be really fucking bad to fuck up a composition. But I think that with these comps that Blinn play, they play really good compositions, don't get me wrong. But it's just their floor is a lot lower than some of these other teams, which I think can be really scary. But I think that because of how much time they put in, that they are going to be able to maximize their compositions and really play them well. Sad, though, I think looked kind of good, to be honest. Like, they looked really fucking good. I mean, they almost beat Turtle Troops, who have, like, the best team in their bracket, right? They almost beat Turtle Troops. And, I mean, they're not going to beat M80 on Icebox. I think M80 on Icebox is just like there's no point in picking it into them or allowing them to pick it. But, I mean, they played decently well on Ascent, and I think that their Ascent composition is really interesting, and I think it kind of plays into what I was talking about similarly, except they're playing to just ensure that, like, it's really hard to play against Encounter. So I think I'm going to have to go... This one's really hard. I think I'm going to have to go... Ooh. I'm going to have to go Sad Esports for this one, I think. I really like Sad's chances. Blinn, unfortunately, I just don't think. But I do think it's going to go 3 maps, for sure. It's going to go 3 maps, in my opinion. Next, we're going to go to these. And here's the thing, right? I think once we get to these, plays, right? Like, Moisex Shopify's on a heater. Like, they're just not going to lose. If they lose, something seriously, like, insane has to happen, right? I think Moisex Shopify is essentially guaranteed. Now, QOR versus Oxygen, I favor Oxygen in this rematch. And the only reason why is because I think Oxygen has prep time, right? They lost the first match. And in Valorant, if you lose a match against a team and you replay them, I feel like it's a lot easier to win, right, that second time over. But at the same time, I think they've been really, like, shaky, to be honest. Like, I think that they've been really good against teams they should be, right? But this YFP game right here, I think they showed a lot of, like, rookie mistakes and a lot of, shakiness. And in this Moisex Shopify series, the scores don't really tell the story. They got fucking slammed. Like, Moisex Shopify was outplaying them. I mean, Oxygen is a team where even if you outplay them, they can still outshoot you, which I think is what the case is. So I really think that it comes down to just raw aiming ability in this series. I think that that's what it's really going to come down to. And unfortunately, for my boy T-Dog, Oxygen is just have some next level firepower, and I just don't know if QR can do it. This is going to be 3 maps. This is going to be 2 maps for sure, probably a 2-0. This is going to be a 3 map banger of a series. M80 versus TSM. Realistically, M80 should absolutely, like, fucking dick stomp them, and it shouldn't even be close. Like, the fact that Turtle Troops beat M80 is insane, right, in my opinion. I think M80 has the best compositions, the best calling, the best players. Like, if we look at the stats, right, we turn off these premier play-ins, we turn off this, we just look at the regular season stats. Xander is Jesus Christ. He's just good. Nismo, Koala Noob, like, no. This team is insane. I personally just don't think that there's like any way in hell that TSM beat M80. It's gonna be a 2-0 for sure. Turtle Troops versus Sad. Like most of these matchups, I think in like the second game, I just don't think it's gonna be close. Realistically, I changed my mind on that actually. So I just remembered that Turtle Troops don't have We Did for this, which I think could change it because We Did, I think, is one of their best players. We Did is fucking phenomenal. If you guys want to watch how to play Valorant, watch We Did. He is so fucking good. So I think that because of that, I'm gonna have to say that Turtle Troops could lose this series, but I think with Stellar, the way that he's built this fucking team, it's not gonna happen. So I think Turtle Troops are gonna win in 3 maps against Sad. Now we're gonna go to the semifinals here, and I think at this again, I'm gonna start with M80 Turtle Troop. I think it's gonna be M80. The reason why it's going to be M80 is, again, like, Turtle Troop is losing one of their best players, and I think that Turtle Troop is really good, but I think that M80 have to underperform in order to lose that game. I just think that, you know, I know Silent X is a really fucking good player, but he's just, you know, it's going to be his first time playing a match with this team, and I just don't think that Turtle Troop are going to be able to replicate the same as results. If Turtle Troop can replicate the same form with an entirely different player, I think Stellar is just Jesus. Like, that's my personal opinion. Like, that's insane. But I just don't think that's going to happen. Moisek Shopify versus Oxygen. This is going to be interesting. So, I think, personally, in my opinion, Moistek Shopify, right? Like, they slaughtered Oxygen in this series, realistically. Like, the scores don't show it, but Oxygen got bullied. If we look at, like, first of all, Verno played insane, but look at this, bro. Like, Mitch and Dapper played horribly, and that's really weird from Dapper, especially. But I think that recently he's been playing, like, in this QOR game. Unfortunately, I don't think he played. Like, he played solid, but if you look at some of the other performances, I'm pretty sure Dapper is like one of their best players, right? So we look at this again. Dapper 1.23, another like 1.2 rating from Dapper, and then here we go. It's just getting off of that loss from Moisek Shopify. So personally, I think that it's gonna be really like I think this personally changes the entire series, right? Like if he doesn't go -21, this changes the entire series, right? Like, for example, like Split could have went to Oxygen. Bind would have been a lot closer. I mean, he went -13 on Bind alone, right? Like that's just really rough. And then Verno, I mean, he was going like death for death essentially, not really being able to get a lot of double kills that I can remember from the series. So I think that this is going to be really close. But I think what Oxygen can really do is kind of heat up with this core game, right? Like you get the revenge game, you beat the guys who beat you at the end of the series, you go against another team that beat you, and now you have all the prep, you have all the knowledge, and now you're going to have your shooter shooting. So I think that Oxygen is going to ramp up, and they're going to beat Moisek Shopify, because I think that Moisek Shopify is really good. But I really like the Verno Redux duo. I think that they are super good, and because like on certain maps I think Verno on Sentinel really makes them super dynamic, because you have this dynamic of Redux being super aggressive and in your face on both sides, on attack and on defense, and then especially on defense you have Verno who's able to really anchor in sights, get double kills, and they set him up really well. So I think that personally, this one's hard, but I'm gonna judge M80 on this loss. 13-5. on Ascent. This is just unacceptable. If you're that good of a team on Ascent, even if it's like your Instaban personally, I think Ascent is one of the best maps to Instaban because you really don't have to put in an insane amount of prep time on this map to make it difficult and to make it scrappy. It's a map that has been played since like the start of the fucking game. So every player knows how to play this map. So even if you're not putting a lot of time into it, you should be able, especially if you have this roster right here, you should be able to not get 13-5. Right? And especially against this composition that is extremely defensive focused, even though this map is defensive sided. I just don't understand how they lost this game. And then again, 13-5 on Lotus. Like, this looks rough. And man, I think that low key, I feel like M80 are just gonna get steamwalled. They don't have a lot of footage on them, but because of this series, I think that there is vulnerabilities in their setup and in their system that I don't know if they're going to correct at this stage. I think after this, M80 should again have another like insane series, like insane split. But I mean, look, I was right for most of these games, I'd say. 0.4%. Let's fucking go, dude. Like, I'm goated, okay? But I think that, like, the one team that I doubted was QR. Unfortunate. But, yeah, I really think Oxygen is going to take this. Crazy enough. So I'm going to lock it in. I'm going to finish this off with games that I think you should watch. I think you should watch Winthrop versus Fluffy Aimers. I think you should watch TSM versus YFP. Sad versus Blinn. And then I think you should watch Oxygen versus QR. Turtle Troops versus Sad. And then this match and then the grand final, I think are going to be the matches that you're really going to want to watch. Those are going to be the matches that are going to be your, like, overtime, map threes, shit like that. So, hope you guys enjoy this style of video. Yeah, leave a like and subscribe. Tell me who you think is going to win in the comments. And, yeah, I'm going to be actually live streaming this game. I'm going to watch party it. I got to watch my boy Screwface. I need to see him take a dub, man. I need to see him win. And, yeah, I'll see you guys later. Peace.